Welcome to Underlords Universe. This is a place where we gather and chit chat about things that we love that have inspired us to stay creative, as we get into our aging years
Our
here,
golden
our
years.
golden years. Yes, and as you can see, we're both wearing Rush shirts today, and
What does that mean?
it means a lot. It means a lot to you. It means a lot to me. And the thing is, as a lot of Rush fans know, there's been a big announcement about Rush.
Yeah.
We didn't see it coming, and yeah, I mean, you got me into Rush when we played in a band together back
Yeah.
back when I was in middle school.
I
And
started listening to Rush in 1983.
so there you go. And that's before I played in a band with him.
Yeah.
But we did. We played in a band together in school. And I remember you got me into Rush playing in the band. And we my first Rush shows with him on my 17th birthday on the Roll Bones tour in Omaha. Since then, been to a lot of shows, and there are now new Rush shows popping up. So if you're a Rush fan, if you stumble across our video here today because you're bored and have nothing else to do, feel free to like and subscribe. This here at the Underlords Universe, it's a creative adventure, and at the very end of this, we might just briefly mention the things that we do. Uh,
Sure.
so, you can check it out. I'll put links down below if you're curious. If
But
not, just join the conversation. What do you think about this Rush reunion?
yeah,
So,
there's bigger fish to fry than our creative ventures, and those fish that we're going to be
oh
frying
yeah,
are Canadian,
Canadian fish?
three Canadian fish,
No, no, no.
four Canadian fish,
Two.
two Canadian
Because
fish.
the new drummer is a German.
Oh, that's true.
German
Yes,
fish.
yes.
She's
Okay,
German.
great.
So, yes, see, aha,
Yeah, I
yeah,
hoisted on my own petard.
petard. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. A lot of people out there, people with maybe a lot more credentials than we
We're
have
totally unqualified.
completely unqualified we are to talk about this, but we're going to put it out there anyway. We've broken down a few categories to talk about with this Rush reunion. And I don't really know. We haven't actually we just know
We've
the
not talked about
categories.
it.
We
We've not
haven't
talked
actually
about
talked. So
it.
this is a live chat that's not going to be live once you.
It's not scripted.
No, it's not scripted, but it's actually live while we're taping it.
It's recorded,
It's
pre-recorded.
recording. Yes. Okay. So here's the first thing. Monday of this last week, a week from tomorrow, I got a text from him, and it said Rush is going back on tour, or Rush tour dates 2026, or something like that. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So of course I checked it over my lunch hour, and sure enough, there's this reaction. There's this
It was
news.
weird.
It's weird.
It was weird. My wife Donna came in and she had this image that said Rush 50 something tour. And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, this is just trolls or spam or this is a hoax."
Yeah.
Hoax.
But no, it's no hoax, folks. Just made a rhyme there. No hoax, folks. So here's the question. What's the emotion detector reading for you?
Emotion detector.
What is your emotion detector reading when you've got this first announcement about the Rush reunion, especially knowing full well that it's without Neil Peart? Go.
Um, well, I was surprised. I had not seen this coming. I didn't think there was any possibility that this would ever happen.
Hmm.
So my first emotion was surprised, but the more that I thought about it and the more that I looked at it and watched their video, they did a video where they announced this, and I thought that video was really well done and clever. And I was suddenly quite excited.
Hmm.
Quite excited. Um, just because the opportunity I'd mentioned, I met my wife after
Hmm.
the R40 tour, so she's never had the chance to see Rush or to experience what it feels like to be at a Rush concert. So that's always been a regret. So I'm very excited. She's very excited. I think that they're, as with everything they've done, I think they'll do it the right way. I think it's going to be great. I'm super stoked.
Everything that they always do seems to be classy
Yeah,
in one way or another.
absolutely.
So I had pretty much a similar reaction. At first, it was,
This
"What?
isn't happening.
What are you talking about?" But it quickly became obvious that this was no hoax, no hoax, folks.
Is no la
And
via strangiato.
right, but what?
Strange dream.
Right. Ah, yes. So, but for me, what happened was my brain, I immediately went from because I'm at work and it's like, and I've got to do multiple things at work. And if you understand what role strain or excuse me, role conflict is, it's like suddenly I have this role of teacher, which has enormous role strain in it, which you understand. I'm being pulled in 20 different directions all at once, which is pretty common for a teacher. But then I've got the role of Rush fan. And it's like, I got to prioritize here. Like,
Yeah.
I got to do my job, but I also have like a Rush fan's obligation to investigate as much as I can find out as
Yeah.
quickly as I can. So my lunch hour, my lunch 24 minutes was devoted entirely to whatever I could find out. And that video you mentioned that Getty and Alex put together,
Yeah.
heartfelt. I loved it. It was great.
I can tell you as a proud corporate drone, all work for me stopped pretty much for the rest of the week. I haven't really thought about anything work related. I've just been focusing on Rush.
Outstanding. Here's the weird kind of quirk about that. That Sunday night going into Monday,
Yeah.
I had a blazing headache and I couldn't sleep. So I just thought, well, okay, I'll just go lay down on the couch and the dog jumps up and whatever. And I just thought, I'm going to put on Beyond the Lighted Stage.
Yeah.
So I put on Beyond the Lighted Stage at like 3 in the morning and just kind of dozed as best I could. And then boom, a few hours later, you send me this message.
Clairvoyance,
Yep,
precognition,
precognition. Here you go. A convergence, a
musical
synchronicity.
messages, yes.
So obviously there's a lot of things to consider in terms of
Let's get down.
the motives behind this reunion tour. And look, first of all, there's a lot of speculation out there from people that people are like, "Oh, it's a cash grab, or it's this, or it's that, it's whatever." It's like, I don't know. I'm not in the inner circle. I haven't talked to Getty and Alex about this. And the way I tend to see these things is number one, since I don't know the motives, I don't necessarily assume the worst or the best. I just take things at face value. And
I think they're
you
pretty
know,
sincere guys. And I think they
yeah.
want to play this music again. And they have the opportunity to play this music again. So I think that's where I attribute the motives.
Yeah,
I don't know if Geddy's trying to become a millionaire, you know.
because he's not already. But but it's like in the Time Stand Still documentary, Getty said, and I think I'm quoting him directly here, he says, "It is the band. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no replacing anybody in this band." And that
That's
documentary is how old now? Time Stand Still came out in
2018.
20. I mean, it's obviously it's post R40.
Yeah.
Um, And, obviously Neil's in it, and so it was prior to his passing. And I think that was a sincere perspective. How could they conceive of going
It's
on?
definitely a reversal from that perspective. And I think that's why it was so surprising because
Right.
for me, as a Rush fan and following them as much as I have, I mean, I've always kind of thought, yeah, without the three of them, there's not going to be any moving forward. And if they do move forward, they're certainly not going to call it Rush. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
we talked about that years ago.
years
I
ago.
mean, even within a year or two of them, retiring after the R40
Yeah.
tour, we talked about will they do like a Lee Lifeson thing or this or that. And I always kind of thought, well, I mean, they were Rush before
Yeah.
Neil, but I just thought they're likely to just because they closed out the career in
So
such
well,
a perfect, classy
they did.
way with the R40 tour. The stage show, kind of going backwards in time, and the song list going back to the beginning, and it was like they put a cork on the bottle,
Yeah.
and it was such a fine wine, But I think what they're saying is, you know what?
Let's uncork that
Let's
bottle.
let's uncork the bottle. And I'm not going to speculate or assume anything negative about the motives, but I do wonder what if, and it's hard to always deal with counterfactuals, but do you think they would have done this if Neil had not passed away?
I've thought about that.
Because you've been
And
thinking about Rush for the
I
last week and nothing
pretty
else.
much and
So
not doing anything associated with my professional career yet.
right, I've been
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I personally, so here's my take on that. Right or wrong? Yes. I think that right now, they would be doing literally the same thing they are right now. I think they would have tried to get, and Neil's blessing. I don't think Neil would have come out of retirement. I think that Neil was done
I
being a
agree.
drummer.
Yeah.
I think that Geddy and Alex would have been at the same point of saying, we really miss doing this. We want to do this. So to me, the bigger question is, would Neil have given his blessing? And I think
I,
personally he would have.
I think he would have. And in fact, I could even see him probably coming out of the shadows to make a public statement about it,
Absolutely.
maybe even on video.
Yeah.
At least insofar as like the Rush website
Yeah.
and stuff would have been concerned. It's hard to know. I mean, it's just total speculation, of course. But
So yeah, I mean, we're totally speculating, but
yeah.
my thought is we would still be where we are right now,
Hmm.
but you just have Neil giving his blessing, and I think he
Yeah.
would have.
And I think that the other thing that might play into this also, because they've been pretty clear, especially Alex, about the rigors of touring. And even on their last tours, it's pretty, I don't know this for sure, but it's a pretty safe assumption that they would probably have been based in a hub city like Chicago,
Yeah.
and then taken, regional charter flights or private jet flights to their shows, instead of going from city to city to city to city. So even their touring in their later years probably would have been pretty luxurious by touring standards,
Yeah.
but you're still in hotels, you're still away from home, you're still, this way they were almost setting up, these like mini residencies,
Then they're spread out a bit.
very spread out. I think the first shows are what, June, and then the
Yeah.
last ones in Cleveland are
September.
September.
Yeah.
So the only thing about that I wonder about is, with so much time in between those legs of, or those cities, will they not have the ability to develop the,
Yeah.
you know,
That's an interesting point. And it's who knows?
we'll find
We'll
out.
find out.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to think that Neil being the class act that he was, I
Hmm.
agree. I don't think he would have come out of retirement. It would have been a statement, something along the lines of, Geddy and Alex have decided to breathe new life into these songs, and
And
my blessing and my support for Anika Niles moving forward.
and before we talk about her, because I think we're going to talk about
Yep.
her.
Yeah, that was a
You know,
segue. That's a
one of
segue.
before we hit that segue,
Uh,
I have seen some traffic where there's reactions vary, and everybody has a right to their reaction. And I have seen most of the reaction I think has been really positive and excited.
yeah.
I think there are some people out there that are like, hey man, if you're not going forward, if it's not the three of them, Geddy, Alex, and Neil, it's not really Rush. I went so far, I saw somebody say this is really a Rush tribute band.
So, well,
I
getting
don't think
Alex
this,
from Rush.
yeah, I don't
So,
think
I
this
mean,
is a Rush tribute band. I think this is Rush. Now you can argue it's a different variation of Rush. Um, would we love to see Neil back and at his prime playing drums for Rush?
of
Of
course.
course. Who wouldn't?
Right.
But based on where they are, I mean, you can't begrudge them, and I don't feel you can begrudge them. And I think that this variation is going to be an interesting way to move forward for Rush and for the
Right.
history of Rush. So to me, that's where I'm at on it. I think this is really interesting that they're doing this, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree with you on the interesting part about it, because it's like there's these kind of known unknowns
Yeah,
here, right? It's like, okay, that the new drummer, Anika, and I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. Anika Niles.
yeah, that's what I've heard.
I tend to want to say Anika because I know an Anika, but Anika. She's obviously going to be the drummer, right? Okay, it's like, but we don't know how that will all gel and how it'll feel until we see it, until we hear it. Um, but I also wanted to make a quick digression, a quick detour here, and this could be maybe spun off into a larger conversation down the road for a different episode, for a different subject. But a lot of us fans really get kind of really stuck on, okay, I'm in support of this, but don't call it that. Don't call it Rush. Don't
Yeah,
call it Yes. Don't call it Pantera or whatever. And, I'm open to people's perspectives on that. But one thing that does strike me as interesting about this is if we make too much of an issue about what something is called, are we focusing too much attention to a brand or a name or a logo or whatever, rather than just the music itself, which is
Yeah,
what the band wants it to be the focus on?
I agree.
And my sense on it is if they went out as Lee and Lifeson, they're probably, I mean, they would, I think they pull in a crowd. Don't get me wrong. Would they do four sold out nights at the United Center? I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. I don't know. And they obviously want to reach as many people as they can. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
It
So
is.
I try not to get too wound up about is it called Rush or is it called Lee Life Centers, whatever. But to me, I agree. It, I mean, it was Rush with John Rutsey.
Yeah.
So it's just a different, it's going to be a different Rush.
And if you've been to a Rush show, you know that there, and you're a Rush fan, you know that there is a very specific experience to being at a Rush show. And, while it's unfortunate that Neil is not going to be there, I think they will create that experience.
I am prepping for an emotional tribute to
Oh yeah.
Neil.
Yeah. And the music is going to
It's
be at the level. The
yeah,
music is going to be at the level. And the the stage show, I think, is going to be at the level.
yeah,
And if you've been to a Rush concert, again, you know what I'm talking about. I think they're going to hit that level. I don't think they would do this if they were not going to hit that level.
right.
So I think
Yeah.
this is a Rush show. I think it's Rush. Again, very sad, and I know this will make some people very angry and I'm very sad that Neil's not there because we love Neil.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
to me, it's very interesting
And
that they're
I
doing this and worthwhile.
yeah, and I wasn't familiar with her drumming until this. I
Yeah.
started to explore and like a lot of fans, I'm looking at YouTube videos and watching some of the stuff she did with Jeff Beck and it's like
There's always been this short list of like if Getting Out were to play, who would they get? And there's names like Mike Portnoy, Danny Carey, Marco Miniman, and there's just this kind of stable of drummers that are like, oh, this person would be great to see.
mhm.
And so for me, Anika Nilles kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
And so it's like, well, I got to get to know what is this about because this is going to be the engine of the Rush show.
right.
And so went out and explored that. And what are your thoughts?
I
And now that you've explored it, what are your reactions and
so
thoughts?
so first of all her feel seems to be a little different than Neil's, but it's hard to really pick that up until you hear her play
Yeah,
Rush songs. She's an incredibly fluid drummer from what I've
yeah,
seen. It's like, I mean, her skill set is just lights out. But I'm trying to picture in my mind, based on what I've heard her and seen her play, playing certain songs. And
yeah,
I try to envision like, okay, well, how would a show start? And so like, I don't want to get too lost in the weeds on like set list and all that kind of stuff. But I started envisioning like,
yeah,
okay, a show starting with the the screen, not the screen but the big drapery in
yeah,
front that hides the stage with like Headlong Flight
yeah,
starting with that snare coming in and then when the song kicks in the drape drops and it's like okay, can I hear her playing something like Headlong Flight, and it's got that little drum break in it to kind of say like a metaphorical passing of the baton, so to speak. And then I thought, boom, go from there into like big money.
yeah.
And then boom into like,
Well, you've got
over,
their set list
yes.
going
Well,
here.
I was starting to hear like Headlong Flight, Big Money, 2112 Overture and Temples of Syrinx. And then, hello, Chicago.
Yeah,
And kind of like we can hit the modern, we can hit the midsection in middle years, we can hit
yeah,
the 70s classics. And I was also thinking if they do two sets, which Alex has alluded to the fact that they're probably going to play a shorter show. But he said around 2 hours, so you could do two 1 hour sets. Imagine a second set where it starts with like Show Don't Tell, and you can see her up there, doom, doom, boom, 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 with like
yeah,
very, very little light or something like that. Kind of saying, okay, she's taking the reins. Which,
yeah.
by the way, I would love it if they played Show Don't Tell. Like
You,
I love that song. Absolutely
yeah,
love that song. But anyway, I don't want to go down too far into the weeds on that. But point is, I'm trying to imagine. her playing that music, and it's kind of an exciting thing to see. And we have, a little less than a year to find out.
I think they really made the perfect choice of a drummer just watching her play. And I'm not technically a drummer or a musician, but I I think that her style, watching her play, I think that her style is going to fit so interestingly with their music.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that she's not going to play verbatim every hit that Neil does. I think she's going to make it her own, and I hope she makes it her own because I think her style is going to be super conducive to Rush music. So I think it's going to be a really interesting opportunity to hear Rush music with a little bit of a different engine in
Yeah.
place, but one that really fits the suitability that's very suitable for their music.
And
So I was thrilled with the choice. I was
I
thrilled.
think she's obviously a good enough drummer. I mean, that she's going to be able, and I think what she's going to do, this is my prediction. She's going to zero in and hone in on those, like the signature fills and the
Yeah.
signature things, and work around that stuff. So I think Rush fans are going to be. I'm hoping. I'm optimistic. I think that we are going to be surprised pleasantly, and I think we're going to go, oh yeah, that is Rush, a different engine, like you said, but still,
It's Rush.
it's still a Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
a Porsche. That's the thing.
High
So
octane.
very, it's still a race car. That's the thing. Okay, I want to ask briefly your thoughts on a keyboard player because Getty did say,
Yeah. And again, I've heard a little bit of controversy and a little bit, oh my God, if it's not three people, is it really Rush? Yes. Um,
yeah,
and I mean, I think that Geddy has a right to say I want to focus on playing bass, and I think that I don't have a problem with this. Like as like there are no sacred cows for me. It's like bring somebody in. I think it's going to be awesome. But go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was just gonna say it's not the first time they considered it. They considered this all the way back into the 80s. They just never acted
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. I wonder if it isn't going to be Ben Mink because I believe he plays keyboards.
I wondered that because he's obviously a lifelong friend of
Yeah,
theirs. He played and helped write
I would
on
love to see
Geddy's
Ben
solo
Mink.
album.
I
Yeah,
would love to see Ben
if
Mink.
it was Ben Mink, I'd be like, dude. As a matter of fact, years ago when we thought about like if they went out as Lee Lifeson, I
Yeah.
always thought, if they did that, they will add a keyboard player. And I always thought Ben Mink would be great. I don't know if he's a keyboard player per se, but obviously he's a violinist, he's a guitar player too. And I thought that just sounds like a really workable,
I,
kind of option.
I will throw props in. My wife Donna wants it to be Adam Wakeman because she thinks Adam Wakeman is really dreamy.
Dreamy.
He is dreamy. If you've ever seen Adam Wakeman, Rick Wakeman's son, he's very dreamy.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Anyway, with that in mind, what about the future? What do you think? I mean,
This is
again,
the big question.
big speculations, of course. We're just talking. We're just talking. Is this going to be like these one and done? We did this live tour. Obviously, we hope that they're going to document
I
the tour with a live album and
I think that's fair to assume they're going to do
yeah,
that
but
because they
then
do that. But then what about going forward? And here are my thoughts. And I heard some commentator online say, well, I mean, this will be a tour and then they're not obviously going to do a studio album or anything like that. I am not so sure because I think that Geddy and Alex are highly creative. I think that when they get into their highly creative mode, I think there could just as easily be a drive to say, let's create something new. And if they have chemistry
hmm.
with Anika, uh, then I mean, why not?
Yeah.
And so I see that as one, I think it would be great because I mean, I've always wanted to hear new music. And if Geddy and Alex are making new music and they've got a great drummer, why wouldn't we want to see that?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So I
And
think it's a possibility. I'm very hopeful and I think it's a possibility.
and Neil is one of my, as with a lot of Rush fans, Neil's one of my favorite lyricists of all
Yeah.
time. But Geddy is not. He's his lyrics are nothing to sneeze at. His lyrics on My Favorite Headache are really good.
Oh yeah.
And even I mean all the way up to through 2112 and then again on Permanent Waves.
Yeah, he wrote lyrics.
Um, yeah,
And
because
the lyrics on my favorite Headache are great. I
yeah,
mean, so I mean,
right.
I think that we can split hairs
Yeah.
and be like, oh, if it doesn't have Neil's lyrics, it's not Rush. I mean, I think that that's if that's the choice and that's the mindset, then people are entitled to that mindset.
Hmm.
For me, if it's we could have a new album, yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I think that the bottom line with all of these things is that these artists that we love, I was thinking about this not too long ago. Um, I feel really fortunate that the bands that I fell, in love with as a kid were bands that just stuck it out. You know, whether it's a band like Yes that had, lots of lineup changes. I think Yes is kind of defined by their perpetual change, so to speak, or Rush, which until now has not had a lineup change. The bands that I loved just stuck around.
Yeah,
Uriah Heep, or I mean, even Kiss up until the last, few years, right? And that's in contrast to, like, our drummer, producer, friend Andy. He's, the Beatles, Queen, all, great bands, but there were bands that their careers were over before he,
yeah,
long before he got into them. So we've had this opportunity to follow and watch and experience the growth and the development of these bands, and they've become really the soundtrack to our lives.
hmm
And it's it's kind of an incredible thing, especially when you're talking about bands who, when they started, the average life of a band was like 5 years. So to have these opportunities, I'm jumping on them.
Well, if you, as I mentioned at the outset of this video, I started listening to Rush in 1983.
Hmm.
And if you would have told little Josh,
Right.
hey, in 2025, you're going to have tickets to another tour and potentially new music, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have been like, that's impossible.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of bands like that. I mean, whether you're talking, we're going to go see Blue Oyster Cult next
Yeah.
month. And I mean, it's like, wow, I never would have thought I'd be this age and this many decades later still saying, yeah, I'm going to go see them and they're still really great.
Yeah.
And I just have high hopes and it's just one of the joys
Yeah.
of being a music fan.
And looking back on all of the Rush shows that we've been to,
Yeah,
I mean, really close on the side of the stage, Geddy's side on the Time Machine tour in
yeah.
Omaha, uh, Clockwork Angels tour in St. Louis, where after the show we got a pizza and it wasn't cut very well, and we kind of tried to break it apart and it kind of burned our
I
hands. Do
don't
you remember?
remember
You don't
that.
remember
No.
that?
Was that in the
Oh,
hotel room?
that was in the hotel at
Yeah,
the
hotel pizza.
Hotel Pizza. I mean, being up in the nosebleeds at the United Center on the
Yeah,
R40 tour.
yeah.
Oh, also Geddy's side of the stage on R40 in Lincoln. That was the second
Oh
night
yeah.
of the Lincoln show. I mean, we a couple shows at the Starlight in Kansas City. We've seen a lot of shows,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so we're stoked to add to that. Although next year, because of the way the ticketing and all that stuff works and availability, you're going to go to a show that we're not going to go to,
Yeah.
and but obviously we'll compare notes. It'll be exciting to do that, and
We'll do another video.
we will. So,
Stay tuned.
if you are a Rush fan and if you've stuck it out with us in this little convo here, this little chin wag, you want to add to it, please do. And please like and subscribe because we're trying to connect with people who are of like mind and, you know,
Or like a lack of mind.
or lack of mind, right? Yeah. So, as I said at the outset, we do a little project. It's called Underlords of the Overworld, or the Underlords universe. It's a lot of double meanings in what we do. In one way, the Underlords universe is this area here where we talk about the things that inspire us, but there's also
Creative
a
outlet.
creative outlet called the Underlords universe, and it's derived from a musical project that we started when we were way younger, about 13 years ago, which built on previous musical projects that we've done. And it started off as an instrumental project because we didn't have a singer. And
It's evolved.
it's evolved. It's also got a literary side to it, literature.
I don't think
It's
I'd call it literature.
well, it may not be Dickens, but Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
definitely not their case.
it's not Darl's Chickens, but it's great though. It's fun. It's fun to read. Josh writes under the pen name H. Prescott Lemon, and if you just want to give a quick nod to that, you can find his books on Amazon. I'll put a link below.
Yeah, no, I mean it's pulp fantasy that I grew up reading a lot of a lot of the pulp fantasy and horror that I loved growing up as a kid was inspired, and really interacted with my love of music like Rush and Blue Oyster Cult and a lot of other artists. So there's a lot of natural organic connections with the music and what I was reading. And so just wanted to kind of build on that in adulthood and take a crack at it. And
Yeah,
it's definitely
yeah,
pulp crap.
and the and the musical world that we do have kind of tendons that
Yeah.
connect to the literary world that H.P. Lemon writes.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So,
musical threads that connect music and story, and I think that that's a lot of fun for us to play with from a conceptual perspective.
yep.
So
So, if you're interested in supporting, independent artists, well, Bandcamp, like I said, the links are below. So feel free to check it out or not. That's cool. If you're just a Rush fan that had,
hopefully this has been a thought-provoking. I know it was fun for us, Doug, because we haven't talked about
we
this
have
yet.
not talked about
So
this.
this
So,
was a fun conversation.
right. So with that in mind, we're going to say sayonara and, yeah,
Goodbye.
goodbye. All right, where's that whole like stop recording button? I think I found it.